I actually I went to Fred and looked at some statistics, and I looked at the median income of America, like just the average person in the middle of America. And I put a ratio of their per capita total government debt over that. And the number was like relatively flat at like 0.5 up until 2008, up until the bailout and quantitative easing. Yeah. And so you have this situation where companies have been disconnected from financial, downsides.
Yeah.
All these MBA class people are getting all these perks and free smoothies and stuff like that. And that number went from 0.5 to 2.5 just over the last 15 years. So your average American is 5 times less capable of paying down their per capita share of the debt. That's why Trump's in office.
And all that money that went into the economy, it was being loaned at 0% or whatever. Wealthy people were taking that money and they were taking loans at super, super low interest rates and then buying stock with it. So that stock had a much higher return because the stock market, they didn't want to see the stock market tank. So they kept pumping money in, and people were borrowing money at super low rates and buying stock. So if you went and you had 10 years of essentially, if you had some money and you had good credit, and I'm talking about, a couple $1 million you could get, a loan for, take $1 million, dump it in the stock market. A couple years later, you got, $1.5 million, $2 million or whatever.
Rich people like when the market crashes for a variety of reasons. They're insulated from it. They're wealthy, so they can buy what they need when they need it. The price of milk and eggs doesn't faze them. But here's the best part. If you take out a $100,000 loan to buy a house, let's say it's 20 years ago, and you make $100,000 a year. Let's say you saved up 100% of your money. Let's just say let's say you worked for 1 year and you saved $100,000. But you financed the house. You say, I want a $100,000 loan. You put the $100,000 you saved actually into the stock market, where its value goes up with inflation as the market, depending on how the market operates. You can short, so they're insulated from this. But inflation in general or a market crash can be manipulated so that the money they have through shorts or through just general stock and inflation goes up. The value of the house stays at $100,000, or the debt, I'm sorry. And as the dollar inflates, the amount of money the average person has to get paid goes up. That means the amount of labor you owe to pay back the debt in the house goes down over time. The U.S. does this with bonds. That's what quantitative easing basically does. Hey, take a loan from us, the U.S. government says, $1 billion. $1 billion can buy you 100, widget factories. Then they quantitative ease, inflate the currency, and now that $1 billion can only buy 50 widget factories. So the loan is bad, but the U.S. still has them under their financing, right? So I'm butchering this, but the general idea is, if you are wealthy, when inflation occurs, the debt you have is the number looks the same to the average person, but to the wealthy person, they're not calculating dollars, they're calculating buying power. That's how it plays out.
Mm-hmm.
So for the working class person, that house now is, and here's the best part too, that $100,000 you owe, the buying power is diminished. So that means if everything becomes more expensive, you can make that money, you can make more money than that easier because everybody else is, but now the value of the house has gone up to 300. And the working class person, they're looking at dollars like dollars. They can't buy that house because it went from 100 to 300. There was a story I was reading on Reddit where a guy said he was saving up to buy something, a tablet or a computer. And then after he finally got 2/3 of the way to the savings, and he was like, one more month, the price jumped on Amazon. And he was like, I can't get it. I can't buy it. It's nuts. That's what it's like for the working class when these things happen. But the rich, they don't care.
The rich, the only time the rich suffer, well, I don't know about the only time, but the big thing that'll cause the rich to suffer in that scenario you're talking about is if they're borrowing and they're investing on margin, which is what you're talking about, Phil, where you take a loan out and then you invest with that loan, assuming that it's going to return. If that stock market crashes while your loan is in that, you lose it, and then you owe money back to the bank you can't afford to pay back, and they start taking your stuff. And that's what happened in 1929. People were defaulting on their
they were investing on margin though.
On their margins, yeah, they were taking out loans to invest, and then when the market. So what happened in '08? They're like, crap. We need to make sure that market does not collapse because everyone on margin right now will go under. So they just print a bunch of money, which they couldn't do in '29. They didn't really I've heard that the Great Depression was that the Federal Reservists used that as an excuse to take, you need us so that we make sure your stock market will never crash again. You can't allow just the government and real money because it's too risky. That was their.
You know what Trump's doing with this? I think all the stories are BS. I think the Democrats are getting whipped into a frenzy by saying Trump's policies are dumb. I think that the Republicans saying no, tariffs this, tariffs that, are missing the big picture. Trump, with this global tariff move, is intending to stab the liberal economic order in the heart. One of the principal components of the liberal economic order was create a network of international trade agreements that make it very difficult to engage in international conflict. And for whatever reason you want to subscribe to or prescribe, Donald Trump doing this is basically saying we will cut all of those ties if we must. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.